Welcome to another episode of the Jobology podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, and today my guest is Dino. Dino is a barber here in San Diego, and he's going to talk to us about opening up his own shop, how many haircuts he has to do a day, and some of the crazier hairstyles he's got to create. So without further ado, Dino. Thank you for being with me today, Dino.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this, Brandon.
Dude, I appreciate it. I think this is one of the professions that, a lot of people feel like they probably know what goes on every day to day. Like, oh, you cut hair, or, people come in, people come out, you style their hair, you cut their hair. But I think it's one that a lot of people, might learn a new thing or two or go, oh, I never knew that. The way I always like to get started, though, is I like to set a baseline. So if I were to run into you in the street, and I didn't know you were a barber, and I said, hey, Dino, what do you do now? What do you do for work nowadays versus, what's your official job title? How would you answer that?
I personally answer a little bit differently from most people, because most people would be like, yeah, I'm a barber. I own a barbershop. You should totally come.
Yeah.
Me, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just cutting hair down the street. I just kind of like to keep my low key because I am with so many people every day. And so it's like people are like, oh, I want to get a haircut. And I'm like, then it's like, oh, I'm a week out. I'm 2 weeks out. And it's kind of, you have to break their heart. So it's better to be like, oh, I cut hair and just kind of downplay it.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to impress them, I'd be like, yeah, I'm Dino, I'm a barber. I own my own shop, this and that. Like when other people, with my family, they're all hyped on it. And I'm just like, oh,
It's just, it's chill. Yeah, it's nothing.
It's cool.
It's nothing to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So barber, why get into barbering in the first place? Is it something that you've always been interested in? Was it something where you were like, I need to figure out a career, so I'm choosing this? How did you get into it?
When I was younger, before I was barbering, I worked at Vaughn's, the grocery store, and I was a supervisor there, and I thought I was killing it, climbing the corporate ladder. I had my shirt and buttoned all the way up and had my Vaughn's water bottle. I was into it. And, growing up, you don't know anything. You're just like, oh, get a job, move up as far as you can and make money, So that's what I thought I was doing. And I was young. I was 19 when I was a supervisor. So I was definitely one of the younger ones. And then I'd get off work and I'd call my younger cousin. He's 4 years younger than me. And I'm like, what up? He's like, what up? And I'm like, how's your day? He's like, good, made $300. I'm like, what, $300? He's like, yeah, I made $300. And at that time I was making $550 a week.
Yeah.
So I was like, man.
You're like, wait a second, this math is not adding up correctly.
For sure. And I was like, but I'm a manager, I'm killing it. And so it was definitely just a facade. And I find a lot of times now, especially people are just super hyped on their titles, and these jobs are you get a lot of perks and you get a good title, but it's the baseline isn't really there. So once that kind of came to an end, I got laid off and everything just kind of fell into place. And then I went to barber school, crushed that out, and never looked back.
Nice. Was that something when you're deciding what to do next? Was barbering something that just caught your eye, or was it something where you're like, I could do that?
Yeah, it's kind of it's like owning a shop. It's kind of same thing. You see other people doing it, you get to know this person. Well, if that dude's doing it, I can do this. Yeah. Okay. And so I was I look at barbering and I'm like, okay, it can't be that hard. You just flick the clipper. I can do that.
For
Come
sure.
to find out, it's obviously much more than that.
A lot more.
But it was a good choice. It's definitely one of the best decisions that I've made.
You kind of had mentioned it a little bit there of you went to barbering school. So is that how you actually become a barber? Is do you have to go to school for it?
You have to get your license
or something.
When I went, it was 1,600 hours, which comes out to full time. It takes about a year. Now the things have changed. I think it's 1,000 hours, and you just have to do a written test at the end. I had to do written and practical.
Mm-hmm.
Which
does
was
practical mean somebody's sitting there and you're
it was that
hair?
But you just have a doll head and you would do it, and you have to do a perm, a shave, color, a facial, a cut, all these different things on this doll head. And it's obviously so bad, but they're just looking for technique that you can do it. So did that, failed the first happens. I passed the written part, I passed the practical part, the first one, and then the written part failed, and then went back. You have to wait a month or whatever. You go back, crushed it, and then that was it. And then I started working at a shop 3 days later.
Not your own shop, but
no.
Okay.
I was doing $5 haircuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like at barber school?
No,
or
this
like
was at a shop.
There's like a barber college. You know what I mean? Like something
No,
like
for
that.
sure.
Okay.
These were definitely like barber school quality.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
it was in Oceanside, and they were like military cuts for like Marines that need haircuts every week. So it was come in $5 for the sides, an extra $1 if you want the top. So it was $6.
Dang.
Yeah, and at that point, I was doing like 32 haircuts in a day. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was wild.
So
I got speed.
Crushing them.
I got speed before I got skill. Like I was really fast and really bad.
Okay.
All together.
And then you refined it though.
Yeah, and then everything just kind of it kind of came in because like in the barbering industry, like you want money, like you need speed and you need skill. Those are the two things you have to combine to really like get there.
Gotcha. So for those of you who don't know, Dino has his own barbershop here in San Diego. It's where I go. Barbershop. You may have seen the shirts in some other videos. But I'm really curious, like, how do you start that? Like, do you just find a space and you just like rent it? Do you have to buy like the chairs? You buy all the equipment? Like, it's all just out of pocket and just from savings of $6 haircuts?
Basically that. Exactly. I was only at that $6 spot like I think 6 months or less, and then I moved down here to Normal Heights, and I was at a shop, and when I started there it was 20, and then I went to 25. So I worked there for like 4 years, and when I started working at that shop, I said I wanted to have my own shop by 5 years, so I did it in 4. But yeah, basically that's how it is. Like you're okay, like I can do this. You know, you've worked at a shop long enough, you kind of know what you're doing, and your skill sets coming together, and you're like, okay, I can do this. Like I just gotta get it together. So yeah, I was literally walking up and down the street, going around San Diego, just looking at random retail spaces, calling and being like, yo, can't afford that. Great.
Yeah.
And so just did that. And then like, I don't know, I'm a firm believer of like whatever you put your energy and your focus in, like it usually happens. So it was like, I just kind of kept on it, kept thinking about it. And then, yeah, everything just kind of worked out from there.
Then a space opened up and then.
Yeah. Well, the spot I'm at now, which was formerly Pat's.
Okay.
You probably saw the picture on the wall in there. He was at that spot for 60 years.
Yeah, I know that spot actually.
Yeah, and he was 87 at the time when he was finally done, and he didn't want to give it up. But when like the Bird scooters came out a couple years ago, I was like down here and I would just like get him, mob around. Don't recommend it. It hurt my knee pretty bad. But that's
side story.
It's another story. But yeah, I would cruise down to his shop and like it was just him in there. He had 2 chairs and it was like he would just like sit at the window and it was like a sad Pixar movie. He would just like long for somebody to come in, you know. Such a cool guy, old, had all these stories obviously. So I'd just go in there and be like, what up, Pat, you know, and just talk to him and let him do his thing. And at one point I was like, yo, I'll give you $6,000 right now if you walk, you know, just like that can be your little retirement nug, and you just dip and like just I'll take over the space, you know. And he's like, oh, I'll think about it. And then a month or 2 later he's like, no, I'm gonna keep going, like because he didn't have anything else to do. Yeah, like that was his thing. He'd been there his whole life essentially. So I was like, totally get it, you know, anything changes, hit me up. And then he just stopped coming one day. He was like, he tapered his hours off to like 3 days. He was literally there for like 10 hours a week. And so he just stopped coming one day, and I would like go back and check on it. It had been like 2 months. So then I was just like, didn't have any way to contact him. So I just like put a card in the thing, like, because I saw his mail was getting picked up. So I was like, hey, it's Dino, like, hit me up if you're okay, like if you need me, call me, whatever. It isn't text obviously, right. Like call me, you know, like whatever you need, like I can help you out. And then I got a call one day from his son, and he's like, hey, like my dad fell, he has to go to physical rehab, like he's not going back to work. And he's like, he told me about you, and he's like, if you want, I can put you in touch with the landlord if you're interested in taking over the space. And so that he did, and everything just kind of worked out from there.
I really enjoy the like more intimate's not the right word either, but I don't know what's a better one.
I can be intimate with you.
Yeah. That barber client feel.
Yeah.
Is there like, I mean, this isn't necessarily where, you know, sometimes podcast goes in weird ways, but something I thought of is like, how do you like, is it like client retention? So, you know, you're starting a new space. Obviously you're like, I got to get clients. I got to get people in. Like, what's the best ways that you found to go about that?
The internet, you know, it's like, just kind of goes back to like anything. Like I take a lot of my cues from Coca-Cola and Starbucks and, you know, these giant conglomerate companies that just have an insane amount of money to do it. I'm like, what are they doing? they're everywhere. Like everywhere you turn, they're putting their name on stuff. They're giving away their freebies. They're constantly on it, you know? So I'm like, okay, like I just try and do that like on a much smaller scale, obviously. So just like might be over the top, you know, but like when I was just a barber myself at not my own shop, like I had koozies, you know, I had combs, like all these little things. It's like there's no way to track stuff like that, you know. It's like just costs money. But back to the whole put your effort into it, it'll come back to you type of thing, you know. So it's like that's just it for me. Like same thing, you know, just like constantly, you know, I was handing out cards at one point. I like printed out a thing and I like cut the slits in it and like hung it on like need a barber with the phone number. No one called.
Right.
But
need a tutor.
Yeah,
right next
exactly.
To those. Okay.
For sure.
Gotcha.
Tried it, you know.
Sure.
So like just trying everything, you know, and it's just like kind of just staying on top of it and not letting off the gas, because there are times at the shop where it's like we get super busy. Everyone's booked out, you know, days in advance, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can let up off the gas. And then I do, and then you can kind of feel that come back. Like you're like, okay, like 2 weeks later, I'm like, those couple days that I let off the gas, I can kind of feel it. So it's just like staying consistent with the marketing and, you know, like the client attraction. And as far as retention, it's like, I mean, the shop that I worked at, it was like before a lot of, you know, you can barber any way you want. Like everybody's pretty much an independent contractor for the most part. So it's like, you know, you can, hey bro, you ready? Get in the chair and be like, hey, what's up, Brandon? How are you, man? And you're like, good. I'm like, oh, sweet. You're with me today. You ready to go? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, have a seat right here. You know,
yeah, just
so
that
it's like
better feel.
It's just literally customer service, like
Gotcha.
the most basic thing ever. And it's like working at Vaughn's, you know, and these other jobs, like super simple customer service, like greeting, parting comment, like little things like that, you know, like things,
textbook out of the handbook.
Yeah, literally just,
okay.
You know,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Just give the service.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Well, and I mean, I feel like barber is like on the same level of like doctor or like when you find one that you like, that's what I'm just going to like. I don't, if you move to Oceanside, well, I guess then I'm driving to Ocean. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter, because I found, you know, there's certain professions where it's like when you find it, you found it, and you just stick with that person.
For sure. And that is a lot. People do say that, like, I'm never leaving. And then, but things I've been barbering for almost 8 years now. And I find that when people are having a kid or moving, like, I'm driving, I'm still coming, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you're not.
Probably not.
It's fine. Like I love our relationship.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate, and I always tell them like, dude, like if you don't come back, no problem. I appreciate you coming on and supporting me all these times. Like you've been great, you know, like I've really enjoyed our time together, but you're probably not going to come back.
Right.
And I tell them that straight up, you know, like my boy, one of my clients, Will, he was so cool. He came all the way from Lakeside to see me, like loved him every time I see him. So cool. And then had a kid, haven't seen him since, you know, shaves his head, which is fine. You know, do your thing. Like I get it. Now it's like, it's real now, you know? Like,
well, and like time, the time priority, you know,
for sure. You
like,
can't drive your big truck from East County to North Park and pay for a not cheap haircut, you know? Like,
and then drive it back, and then you know,
exactly,
girlfriend or
I mean,
wife
I
is
totally
like,
get
where
it.
are you know, now
For
I'm
sure.
with the kid, where are you? And it's like, okay, I'll just shave my head and call it a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Something that I always find fascinating about the jobs that I talk to, and I think that, you know, a lot of people maybe don't fully understand, is like, what does an average day look like? So it might be tough to narrow it down, you know, because every day is different. But on an average day for you, like what time are you getting to the shop? How many appointments do you have a day? How much downtime do you have? What time are you closing doors and heading home?
Personally, I work as little as possible.
Okay.
Like I said, I've been barbering for 7 years, and like I'm just trying to like keep my body alive and just like my mental health, you know, because we're cutting hair all day, but more than being on your feet and cutting hair is like talking to everyone and like listening to everybody's story. Like it's not like, it's good, you get the connection, but like by the end of the day, people are like, I'm going out with my friends. Like I'm done. I can't be like, hey, how's it going to anyone else? You know, like I'm silent. So the day for the shop, you know, kind of, we open at 10, usually close at 7. Sometimes we're open a little bit later, but get there, flip on the lights, make the towels, like heat the towels up. I'll face the fridge, you know, make sure all the supplies are stocked, and just kind of like give it maybe a quick sweep and just get everything going. It's funny because it doesn't take a lot to get the shop going in the morning, you know. And one of the other shops I worked at, there was the manager, just the person that was there basically always, you know, and anything comes up, he would handle it. He was there the longest. And another guy came in and he's like, He's like, this place wouldn't be here without me and Janan. And we're like, what? He's like, this place wouldn't run. He's like, we got to come in here and turn on the lights. We're like, what? What? Yeah. What are you talking? We got to make the towels? Where it's like 6 towels. You like let them, wring them out and put them in this little cubby. And we're like, yeah, man, wouldn't be here without you.
Be tough.
For sure. I'm like, we could just get here and flip the lights on, you know? So that's just always been super funny to me. But yeah, like as far as like just getting the shop up and going for the day, it's pretty minimal.
Okay. And then, I mean, my like logical and like practical side work in 2 different ways on my brain here. Like logically I go, well, there must be like some cleaning procedure. But then practically I go, well, but maybe you're cleaning like as you go along. Like, you know what I mean? Like your tools shouldn't be dirty in the morning if you've, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Like it should be done, I guess, at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I was taught at the other shop that I worked at, like do a cut. You have a mess, you know, on your station, whatever. You like take all your stuff, brush it, spray it, put it away, kind of reset, wipe your counter, and there you go. And so if you're doing that, like stuff's still going to get dirty. There's still going to get hair in the drawers, but like your tools are clean for the most part. You're spraying everything in between clients. Obviously, it's like you just obviously need to be as clean and sanitary as possible. As far as like the shop, like there's a lot of stuff that has to be, hair gets on every surface, like the dust, just the scuffs, the everything. And so for the longest time I was like in there sweating, like on my day off, like cleaning and scrubbing, and now I just pay a cleaner to come and do it, and it's it's great.
Yeah, much better
for sure.
Okay. I just thought of this, and I mean, again, this is why I do the podcast. I have no idea on things I like to try and learn. Do you have to dispose of hair a certain way, or can you just like sweep it in a bag and throw it in the trash?
Yeah, you just throw it away.
I mean, that's what I would assume.
Someone's like, what happens to this? I'm like, I have no idea. And I Googled it real quick, and there's a company in Florida that makes welcome mats out of cut people's hair.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. I don't personally want one, but
no, me neither.
Yeah, that's just like one thing. Okay. But yeah, and you could use it for fertilizer in your garden if you want. But feel free to dig through my trash. I'm not saving it. You know?
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. All right, but I didn't know if there was like some like.
No, there is for like the razors like, we use.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's everybody gets like a new razor, not back in the day where you like sharpen it on the thing. It's just like everybody has you disposable and you change it out in between customers. So those have to be like disposed of at like a Sharps drop off.
Average day, or I mean even a high volume day if you want to go there. How many haircuts do you think you're doing in a day?
Like I said, me personally, I do as little as possible, you know, but like
if you're starting out, let's say,
yeah, well, like I said, when I was doing the $5 cuts, I was doing like 32.
Okay.
And then I started charging more, like getting my speed up. So I went down because I was like trying to give actually good haircuts. So I probably went down to like 15, and then I went up to like 30 minutes back to back. So between 18 and 20. And now I'd say like once you're pretty much secure in there, like 40-minute appointments are it, you know. So depending on how many hours you work in the day, I'd say like 12 is like a good for like an average barber. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And then we had, you know, I know from going to the barber shop, but if you haven't been, there's other barbers there too. It's not just you. So your coworkers, do they like, how does that work? You know what I mean? Like nobody can just like walk off the street and be like, well, I'm cutting hair in here today. Like, do they have to like, how does that work?
You got to be cool.
Yeah. Because you're like, spending time in a very close area.
It's like you're hanging out with me all day, you know, for sure. And so basically is don't be weird. I mean, you can be, everybody's a little weird, you know, but it's like, are you going to annoy the crap out of me all day long? So that's a big thing. Basically, you have to come in and cut my hair.
Okay.
Give me a haircut. And then I'm
that's like,
yeah.
Okay. Like the test?
For sure.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, you cut me, you know, and then I ask you weird questions like, what do you put on your grilled cheese sandwich, you know? And if you were to say jelly or something, I'm like, you're out.
You're out. Ketchup. What about ketchup?
I mean, ketchup I might accept it, but you're gonna get roasted, and I'm not gonna like leave you alone.
Okay, what do you put on your grilled cheese sandwich?
Cheese.
Okay, well, that's what it's.
And a nice buttered crust, obviously. Sure. Maybe some ham if I'm feeling spicy.
Spicy. Okay.
Yeah.
Bacon. We're getting.
I like where that's going.
Okay.
I'm a big bacon guy.
That seems like that could work.
Yeah.
All right. And then you said you're closing around like 6 right now.
7.
Yeah. Okay. So then, is there like a shutdown procedure, or is it as simple as the
it's
procedure
basically
of lights?
Yeah, lights. Like close the blinds, turn all the lights off, set the alarm, lock the door, bring the bench in, bring the sign in, you know. But like 3 minutes and you're out, you know.
Gotcha. Okay. And then let's start with, how much does a haircut cost?
Right now our haircuts are 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is an interesting question too, because maybe this is going to expose me here, but what if you were getting a $35 haircut as a barber, what are you tipping?
I'm probably tipping more
I had a
because
feeling.
because I'm like
struggle.
it's gonna come back to me.
Sure.
Like it's literally like, but I'm happy with like if you give me $1, like I don't think twice about it.
I get it.
Yeah.
But what should if for other people who need advice in this and they go, hey, I'm going to my barber, what should like
$35 if you want to be like, hey, you got any space for me today? Can you get me in? You're tipping 10. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I'll consider it.
Okay.
So like you hit me with the 45, like you got the green check mark. You're on the list.
Sweet. Good to know.
But I mean, not to say I don't love my $5 tippers.
Sure.
For sure.
Well, because I mean, if it's 35, I feel like people go, here's 40, and
all day,
walk away
for sure. And I'm
very
super happy with that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Better bring 45 next time.
But I mean, just like if you want those extra ones,
sure.
Like the extra, like like oh, it's on the day off or something, which I usually won't do, but for sure, because like especially I feel like at my shop personally I do, and like my other barbers are pretty good about it, is like we're on like a tight shit, like you got your spot and like we're on time, whereas like you go to other places and it's like, oh, you gotta chill, you gotta hang out, like
my appointment was for 4:30 but now it's 4:45 and I'm still waiting.
It's hot outside, like so all these things, so it's like I feel like that's definitely like a premium thing, because I've definitely had it where I've had appointments at places and I've been sitting there for 45 minutes and they're still going at the cut, and I'm like, bruh, like I was all hyped on this haircut. I really wanted this person to cut my hair, and then it was like, okay, the whole experience is shot now,
What's like a pay range for a barber? You know what I mean? Like end of the year, you're done, you send off your taxes, your 1099s, whatever, however you have to do it. I don't know.
I can answer that for sure, and I'll answer that based on the Google answer, which I think
Perfect.
is around $35,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to be grinding if you want to be making
Get
decent money.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Speed and skill, dude.
That's
you got to come in early and
that.
you got to leave late,
Okay.
It's like, get it.
Gotcha. And then, we had mentioned the other barbers in the shop. Is there like a higher art? Like, are you the boss, or are they?
I'm definitely the owner. Like if
it comes back,
if it's hot, they're complaining to me.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So if the light bulb burns out, it's me. Like if the sign falls, I got to get the thing out and get it, It's like,
do they have their own tools, or do you like provide the tools?
Yeah. Okay. Like they bring your tools, you just go to work. I literally provide everything else.
Gotcha. Okay.
Including the customers. So
nice. That's helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
That's helpful. Okay. And then if I always like to use me as the example. So if I'm coming into your shop and I'm cutting your hair, and you're like, okay, he answered the grilled cheese sandwich right, he's cut my hair well, and I was like, hey, and you're like, yeah, you can start here, and I go, cool, like what should I expect, or what's a good piece? Do you have a piece of advice for me just starting out as a new barber? Like what would you?
Yeah, as a new barber, my advice to you would be to give excellent service, be the best service in the city, and try and give a decent haircut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's like service over
everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything.
Hey,
I mean, you're not going to be in when you start.
Yeah.
No one was. I gave a haircut to a guy one time, and he came back and he goes, this is like loud in front of like all these. This is like the worst haircut I've ever had. Can somebody like fix this? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay, like over there, like knowing I smoked him.
Somebody else is like, well, who did that? Like Dino.
Yeah.
No.
This guy doesn't know what he's doing. All these people in here are way better than you. That's what they said to me, and I was like, ooh. I'm like, yeah, she'll fix it. And like that's definitely a point where you're like, I want to quit.
Yeah,
like
this is
under a rock. I want to be done for the day, but just kept going and made it happen.
Shake it off.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you could personally, like now looking back from the $6 marine haircuts to having your own shop, is there anything you would change on your like path that you're like, I wish I would have done that, or I probably shouldn't have done that, or
I wish I would have dove deeper into social media, like for myself,
like earlier.
Yeah, like I think anybody does that sees like the traction that like basic people have on the media, like just from being like a pioneer and starting it, like if you were one of the first dudes on YouTube, like even if you don't have anything great, it's like huge, you know? So that would have definitely helped in the career. And then paying for like education and just paying for like retraining and stuff like that, you know, because it was later on in my career when I realized like, oh, I can just pay someone that's better than me to like show me how to do stuff. So that's definitely, because it's not only like you don't, especially if you don't know like the foundation of cutting hair, like you don't understand like, you know, like why you do certain things. But what it does is when you pay for education, like it kind of gives you like motivation for that week. You like hyped, you want to like try this new thing, you know, it kind of gives you like fuels your tank a little bit.
Yeah. Somebody's like, oh, here's a new style. And you're like, okay, I want to go try this new style. For sure. Okay. Interesting. So I have come up with some job questions that I think are, you know, we'll see. Thankfully, you kind of already mentioned one thing, so now I don't feel so weird about asking it. But I was gonna say, like, hypothetically, if you were to give a bad haircut, what is that? What happens in those? Like, again, you kind of did tell the story.
I've given a lot of bad haircuts.
What if the person says, "I want this," and then you cut their hair and it's not what they had said? Do they like not pay you? Do they just walk out unhappy? Like, how does that?
If they're not happy, like I'll give you the haircut, like for sure. It's not. I mean, I'm to the point now where it's like, I'm giving you what you asked for, and if you're not happy, it's on you. You know, because I know like what I can do, and if I can't do it, I'm just gonna tell you, like, yo, bro, you're not that guy.
Yeah, you're not Mohawk
you know,
guy.
Yeah. You'll never be Brad Pitt from Fury. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Okay.
So just like kind of knowing that and just being straight up with people, you have to say it in a certain way, obviously. But one time this guy asks, he's like, can I get a 4, which is a 1/2 inch? He's like, I want to go 4 all over. He touches the top of his head, and I want to leave the front a little bit longer to like push up. And I'm like, that's going to be really weird. And I said that, and he's like, are you sure? I asked him 3 times. He's like, yeah, that's why I want 4 all over and just leave it longer than that. And I'm like, I'll do it, but it's going to be weird, bro. And he's like, okay. And this was a guy that had hair plugs too. So he was like, he paid and he worked for this on top, and shaved his whole head, left these weird little spikes in the front. And it was like, just like a row of spikes. It was so bad. And he's like, that's not what I wanted. I'm like, what do you mean? You said it like 4 times. He's like, I wanted the sides 4 and the top like longer and like a little longer in front. I'm like, oh, you said all over, dude. I asked you like 4 times. I'm like, my bad, dude. And he's like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, do you want to keep it?
Or do we just shave all?
Yeah. And he's like, no, just shave it. I'm like, all right, shaved it. Gave it to him. Dude still tried to come back to me, but I was just like, we ain't it, bro.
This ain't, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not the barber for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. What do you prefer? A client who like comes in with the picture that says, I want this haircut, or the client that comes in and goes, I don't know what I want. Do whatever you think looks best.
Definitely come in with a haircut.
Okay.
That you want, because if you, depending on like what kind of day I've had, like you're either going to get like something super cool and fresh, or you're going to get like the most basic thing that I know how to do. Like, you know, like, which is, both are going to be great. You're going to love either one. But, yeah, it's just like, know what you want. You've been getting your hair cut for 30 something years. You should probably know what kind of haircut you want, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, now that I'm thinking about it too, I'm like, other thing that would be probably helpful for people is like, be flexible. Like if I come in with a picture and I say, I want this, and you're like, I can't put that on your head.
Yeah.
Like,
don't come in with your ID and be like, I want it like this. Like, bro, I can see your face. Yeah. Like, that's not.
I don't want. Yeah. Or like that hairstyle's not going to work on your head. Like, because I know I have like cowlicks on certain spots. Yeah. It's like, I can't do maybe exactly what you want.
Yeah, people's head shapes and hairstyle, like all different. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and like there's cuts that I want. Like I can't have a mullet because my hair is so straight, so it's just like it's sick. Yeah, it looks like a loaf of bread growing off the back of my head.
Okay. And then, what's the wildest like hairstyle or haircut you've ever done?
Oh man, one time I gave this guy, it was like a weird like pseudo mohawk, and it was like short to long. It was like 4 inches on top to like 18 inches in the back, so it kind of went like this, and it was like, dude, it was like, I don't know, it was super. It took me like a really long time, and not one that I gave, but this guy that used to come into the other shop, he used to get like these tiger scratches in the side, and they were literally like 1 inch thick, and there were these 3 lines that would go down like the side of his head, and it was so ridiculous. Right. And every time he'd come in, everyone would be like, the guy's here. You know?
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
Man.
Tiger Man. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I have for you on that front. I got a couple more questions and then guest time here, but How could I, we've kind of mentioned a couple things here already, but maybe there's something that I haven't thought of. But as a client, how can I be better to my barber? Like, what can I do to make your job easier?
It's a good question. I mean, we always appreciate like clean hair.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
Clean hair. Dude, 95% of people are clean.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not here to like
5 that aren't are
talk
not.
trash on anyone's hygiene, but like personally, I shower daily.
Sure. Yeah.
Which, preference, do whatever you want. Like, you should be showering every other day. I think I can say that confidently.
I think so.
Regardless
That's
of what's
probably
happening.
about right.
Yeah. But it's like, if you're like, maybe you're a day off and you're like, I'm going to shower today. Oh, I'm going to get my hair cut, so I'm going to wait for after that. Like, don't come in with your greasy hair all nasty and slept in and dandruffy and be like, because like I can smell it. It's gross.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, and so, and then it's like, I mean, and then I'm like changing my cape and I'm like not hyped because I know you're going to come in with hella dirty, greasy hair. Like, when your hair is greasy, and so do I, So it's like, come in with clean hair, show up on time. And if you're going to be late, call the shop, message me on Instagram. If you can't come to your appointment, call the shop, like anything's happening, call the shop. Like, we always answer the phone. So it's like, even 2 minutes, it's like, okay, like, especially if you have a hard haircut or you're getting like multiple services, like I have that set up to where like I need every ounce of that time. So it's like just communication with your barber.
Okay.
For sure.
That's good. That's a good one. Because I think a lot of people wouldn't. They'd be like, it's 5 minutes, whatever. But then it's like, well, if everybody thought, it's 5 minutes.
For sure.
That's
and it is just 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes off of your cut.
Right.
Like, that's 5 minutes of detail that you're not going to get. Because my next guy's not going to suffer because you can't be on time.
That's fair. Okay. Good. I think that's valid. I think that's something that people should probably keep in mind.
And the same goes for the guy before you. Like, if he's late, like 15 minutes, I'm not going to make you wait 15 minutes because this guy's got timing issues, Okay. So it's like, I have that slot for you. You get my undivided attention for the most part. And I'm going to give you the best I got in that time slot. But it's like, whatever you take out of that's on you.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's all I have for you for the podcast. The last bit of the podcast I always like to leave for my guests to either promote themselves, small business, something else, cause, charity, whatever they feel like the listener needs to know.
There's a couple local businesses that I want to shout out on Adams here. One is Paleo Treats. You've probably seen it. It's like a big, it's like a storefront, but it's like all pink and stuff. And they have like paleo and like gluten-free and vegan treats. Highly recommend those. I really love those. Lee and Nick, they're super great. And if you go to my Instagram and like look at my followers, you'll see I'm following them. Another one is Coco and Jules Cookies. Also on Adams Avenue, she makes these gluten-free cookies. I mean, I personally would never eat gluten-free except for one day I was like, yeah, let me support small business. I want some cookies, And I got them and they're bomb. They don't even taste gluten-free. And then, I mean, I obviously tell, like, one of the things is I'm always asking like where people like to eat, and giving them my suggestions. So we said earlier, Clem's is like my go-to sandwich spot. And obviously the Friendly, which I like to get the burgers there. So yeah.
And then where can we find you? So where can we find your shop, your Instagram?
We're on Adams Ave, like kitty corner across from El Zarape, essentially. Dino's Barbershop SD. If you want to make an appointment, dinosbarbershop.com. Super easy to book right there. You just find the time that works best for your schedule, and then you'll be good.
Gotcha. And follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, Dino's Barbershop SD.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. I think this has been something that a lot of people can learn from and kind of understand, like, oh, if you are doing a job that maybe you either get fired from or you get laid off from, or you just go, I don't like that, you can do your own things too. Like, you can start your own business.
For sure. So, just do it. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. Like, I can't spell especially. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if I can run this whole business and do all this, and
I can spell definitely.
Yeah, so and you need me to spell the word garage.
Yeah,
like, it's not gonna happen.
No, but we're not running a spelling bee. So
exactly.
It's all right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Well, now that you made it to the end of the podcast, next time you're in San Diego, make sure to check out Dino's Barbershop. Before I let you guys go, a couple quick reminders. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow at Jobology Podcast, and comment down below what jobs you guys would like to see next. Like we say to end every episode, make good choices.